How to wholesale vacant land. What is up, guys? Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can start wholesaling vacant land. So many people believe that wholesaling houses is the only way to make money, when really wholesaling vacant land is a whole entire opportunity that you can do. Now, my personal opinion, I think you should wholesale houses and land together. Some people on the internet's going to tell you should only wholesale vacant land, and some people say you should only wholesale houses. As somebody that has made millions of dollars doing both, I can tell you the best business is both. So this video is for anybody who doesn't know how to wholesale vacant land. It is an insane gold mine for you to get rich wholesaling houses. And so what's the difference between wholesaling land and wholesaling houses? Well, there's some key differences that I think you should look at here to really help you understand the differences. Now, first and foremost, I have always personally found with wholesaling land, you are going to be making less money per deal. Now, that's not a bad thing, but I will tell you, there's not many $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 like big kahuna assignment deals with vacant land. Personally with me, the average vacant land deal that I personally do is going to be getting an infill lot locked up. Infill lot is basically when there is a property, vacant land, property, right? That's basically what it is, right? These are houses and there is a vacant piece of land here. There's a property, then there's another vacant land. That could technically be an infill lot, but most of them are going to be when there's a house, land, house, and it's right in between there, right? But one thing I can tell you here is you're just gonna make less money, right? These are gonna be, you lock them up for 20, 25 grand in my local market, and then you wholesale them for 45 grand to a builder. Boom, you make her 20 grand. Now, out in Texas, there's very lucrative opportunities with mineral rights and things like that where you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? I've actually interviewed somebody who made $90,000 wholesaling a piece of land in my local market, and it was insane. I've never made 90 grand wholesaling a piece of land locally here, but this guy did it, and very, very impressive, right? He actually used direct mail for that. But the one thing I can tell you is using both is the best one, but still, there's money out there, right? You're generally gonna do less vacant land deals than if you just went all out in wholesaling houses. But the thing is, if you do both, you'll make the most money, right? The one thing I do love about wholesaling vacant land is, I'm just laughing at this because it's true, there's just so much less drama. You don't have to worry about the repair cost usually. You don't have to worry about somebody's attachment to that said property usually. They haven't lived in it for 15 years. The seller's not gonna say, oh, where do I live? Where do I go? Like, people pretty much understand. And you get questioned a lot less when wholesaling vacant land. Now, it is a lot easier to lock up vacant land. The one thing I can tell you, and I would tell everyone here, is locking up vacant land, especially in virtual wholesaling, is so simple. The boots on the ground is pretty much non-existent. You can literally bring a buyer through. It's pretty awesome. And so the easiest deals to lock up are always gonna be these vacant land deals. And if you're virtually wholesaling just houses, vacant properties are the best ones, right? Now, it is easiest to go out here and virtual wholesale just land in general, and then virtual wholesale vacant houses next, and then houses with people in it, obviously, right there. So if you have any success wholesaling vacant houses, vacant land can be a good reason to make a lot of money here too. Now, the cool part about vacant land is you only need $0 to start. Now, if you watch any other land wholesaling video, they're going to tell you need to buy the software to go pull the land and then pay $1,000 a month for a Skiptracing service. And guys, you can wholesale land while spending a ton of money. That is a complete true thing. It is possible, but you can also possibly do it with no money at all. And I'll show you exactly step by step how to do that today. Now, with vacant houses, the one thing I will tell you on vacant houses is I'm comparing vacant houses to land because the thing is, wholesaling houses just with people in them are going to not be a good comparison, right? Because there's just so much drama. But if you're just going to wholesale a regular house, right, you're going to make more money on the deal. Like 20 grand is going to be a nice land deal, but a nice wholesaling houses deal is going to be 50 grand, right? A lot of you guys are going to make 5 or 10 grand wholesaling land and probably 20 grand doing the house. You are going to do way more volume, guys. There's just more pieces of houses that buyers want to buy than pieces of land. So yes, theoretically, there is more square feet of vacant land than there are square feet of built houses. But on the other end, there are way more, how do I say this scientifically? There are way more wholesalable items for houses and land because a cash buyer is our customer, right? And so there is definitely way more cash buyers for houses than land. The best way I can describe this is technically there's more land to open up pizza shops in Montana, but there is way more customers for pizza in New Jersey, right? And so it's not about just how much land there is out there that makes it like a good area, right? It's gonna be how many cash buyers. And cash buyers for land, generally what I've always found, are gonna be looking to buy in metropolitan or suburban areas, right? And so personally what I found for vacant land buyers is they're either gonna wanna buy it to build on top of it, either to throw a trailer park on there, they're gonna wanna land bank it right, or if you're out here in Texas, maybe for mineral rights, for gold or oil. I'm not the expert on that stuff, but one thing I can tell you is there's a lot less of those than people just looking to buy a rental property or somebody going out here and looking to flip a house, right? And so there's no sexy buy vacant land and build a house from scratch HGTV videos, but there's a ton of flipping a house, right? And so the one thing I can tell you is you are gonna be making way more money on a vacant house deal or just a regular house, right? There's definitely way more deals out here for houses and land. There's way more drama with the sellers, but because there's more drama and more problems, right? It's very hard to find a hoarder house theoretical situation with a land than it is with a house. And then it's just way harder to acquire a deal, right? It's harder to close a seller for a house than it is land, but you make more money, right? So it's a wash. Way harder for virtual if someone's living in the house, right? But you only need $0 to start. Now, I have 7 rules, or my 7 musts, when you're wholesaling land. So when you're talking to a seller, right, and they are looking to sell a piece of land here, one thing I am going to tell you is you should ask these questions. These are my musts. These are questions you have to ask the seller to understand. And so if someone's looking to sell their piece of land, obviously I like my MCTP, but we got to change it a little bit, right? So first and foremost, what is the lot size? Is it a quarter acre, half an acre, 0.1 acres, right? They could all be a little different. What is the lot zoned as? And so what is the zoning of that piece of land? It could be commercial, it could be residential. Am I able to change the zoning? Maybe I can change this into commercial and the residential, commercial if it's on a busy street, right? Wholesale to properties like that before. Now you guys also ask, obviously, why are they looking to sell the piece of land? Now, there are certain massive issues that could happen with land. More importantly, and I've seen this firsthand, there could be endangered animals on the land, and this absolutely sucks, right? There's these specific burrowing owls or these certain tortoises and turtles that if they're there, you have to spend like thousands of dollars or risk jail time and fines to remove them out. So if these special endangered animals are on your land, you have to spend all this money to relocate them, and it's very expensive. And that could ruin the deal because it's obviously very expensive. I've had pieces of land that were right by gas stations and oil seeped into the gas in the environmental study and you couldn't build there anymore. It just complete mess. And as you know, with wholesaling houses, sellers do the same thing with land where they will pretend that, oh, I don't know, I'm just looking to sell it. And magically, there is a gas spill or a leak and the whole thing is not buildable and unsafe. Or maybe the foundation's so bad, a little tiny little sinkhole or something, and they say, "Oh, I didn't know that." And they play dumb, like, I didn't know the roof was caving in when they're selling the house. So you just got, I mean, that's general stuff, right? Obviously, the buyer will know that better than you. Now, number 4, you want to know if there's any water hookup to the piece of land already. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there is already sewage or septic tank access able. So sometimes the water won't be set up, but it is able to if you want to build on top of that, right? Also, maybe there is sewage available. So it doesn't have to already have a whole like sewage system, but it's nice to have it available if you're going to build on top of that, right? And the point is, there's going to be pieces of vacant land out here in the middle of nowhere where the city is like, no, we are not going to go create an entire like electrical system just for your house in the middle of nowhere. Or sometimes they say, you need to have your own septic tank. We are not doing your sewage for you. And that does have added costs. You know, of course, number 6, power is they're able, if I build a piece of property on this land, am I able to get power? Most of the time, yes. But sometimes the answer is going to be no, and that's going to affect the values a lot. Now again, number 7 is the lot buildable. So there are certain lots that are absolutely not buildable. The foundation might be screwed up. Maybe it just doesn't make any financial sense. Maybe the zoning doesn't allow it, right? There are a lot of different variables, but you just want to ask these questions. And when you ask these questions to the sellers, they're going to be like, oh wow, this guy actually knows his stuff. And he's actually asking me pretty legit questions. So he's actually a real buyer. Now, if you want to go step by step to wholesale vacant land, this is what I would do. First and foremost, I would find a buyer for my vacant land first. This is by far the hardest part of vacant land wholesaling. Now, how do I find my cash buyers for land? Obviously, we can go out here on Facebook groups. We can go out here on Zillow and just look for cash buyers, the general ways we teach at freewholesaling.com. I prefer you just go to X Leads and find land. So to do this, obviously, just go to X Leads, right? I would go to Investor Leads. And what I'd like to do is, let's just look up a random area. So let's do Columbus, Ohio. So if I'm looking to wholesale houses in Columbus, I would just go to the flippers and find people flipping houses. Now, if I'm looking to find people flipping land, it's like, well, Zach, how do I find people flipping land on here? Is there a little land thing? Well, there's a small way to do it. So what I like to do is find flippers. Now, what you want to do here is make sure the average purchase price at most is $40,000. Let's do $60,000. Why it's so low, Zach? No one's buying houses for that low. Well, technically, when you're buying land, right, X Leads can't figure out if you're wholesaling vacant land or if you're wholesaling a piece of property, right? And we can't figure out if someone is flipping this information. Like if they're flipping the piece of land, it's not too apparent. So what we have to do is, how do I hack the system? Well, what we do here is we figure out, well, if someone's buying a piece of property for $60,000 and then reselling it for $400,000, they're not the greatest flipper of all time. That usually, because I don't know the repairs, right? X Leads can't figure it out. What you do is you basically buy something for 60 grand, piece of land, and then you put 200 grand in the building, and then you sell for 400. So what I do is I do the average purchase price, max it out 60,000. Then minimum gross profit has to be at least 50 grand. So you're making the average purchase price for a profit. And what you're gonna see here, these are gonna be the people who are going out here and being builders. So for example, here, 5M Builders. So if I click them right here, they are obviously going out here and building properties, and they're building on top of land. And obviously I found them out. And so what they're doing is they're obviously making a ton of money. And if I go to the flipped properties tab, it's gonna give me the whole investor insights here on X Leads and just show me people that are building on top of here, which is pretty dang cool. If you look here, they bought this in 2022 for $40,000, and then they sold it, as you can see here, for $395. You might be like, Zach, they made so much money. Well, they did, but they didn't at the same time, right? So obviously they built this themselves. So they bought it for 40 grand with their own money. They got a loan for 307, and then they sold it for 395, which doesn't really look like a good deal for them, but hey, they're building, and obviously they have their information. So if I go back here and I get their info, I got their phone number and call them up and see if they're looking to buy, right? Now, if I had the basic plan, right, you have to get the Pro or the X plan to actually get that. So what I could do is if I go here to Columbus, Ohio, another hack I can do here, let's go to filters, and I can go out here to cash buyers, and these are gonna be cash sales, and then property type, I just go out here and find land. And these are gonna be all the people buying pieces of vacant land or just regular land for cash. Now, what I would do here too is you can also find flippers too, which is also nice. So flipped, cash buyers, you can match them up here, and you're gonna find some people flipping properties, right? But maybe if you have the basic plan, just do cash buyers for land. And what you can do here though, is go to last sale date and people in the last 3 months buying land for cash. This is a great list to start calling. So SAF property groups looking interesting here, or Flores Development LLC, you click them right here, and it looks like this development company right here is buying this property, and it looks like it's ready for a project. So looks like it's a buyer. So we'll skip trace them, call them up, and find our buyer. Now again, I kind of skipped it, but number 2, we go out here and pull our list. So we would go into X Leads and pull a list of properties that are land. And that's pretty much it. We pull them, they're skip traced, their phone number's right there, we're good to go. Now, a quick hack for free, you can actually get the tax rolls. So the tax rolls are a list of every single property the property appraiser or the tax collects taxes on. And what you can do from here is you can find out what they're zoned as, probably in the tax rolls, and then you can technically pull a list of every single person that has land, and there's at least zoned for it, and you can call them up. A little tougher to do, but you can get a list of pretty much anyone that owns land, and then you can call them up from there. You just have to manually skip trace on cyber background checks or truepeoplesearch.com. Obviously, XLeads is the best skip tracing there. Then from there, you start marketing, right? So you can call these people up, text them, throw digital bandit signs out here saying, I'm looking to buy land. You can email blast these people, eogsystem@freeholding.com, one of my favorites. Or you can just send some direct mail, which a lot of bigger land wholesalers do. And then from there, once we have somebody looking to sell, we can comp the land. Now, comping land is going to be a little more difficult, right? So you want to find what similarly sold pieces of land in the area are going for, and you're good from there, right? Now, if you want to get kind of crazy, you can go by sold houses and be like, okay, well, what's the house value and what's the land value? You can kind of go from there if you really want to get technical. I prefer you find actual one-for-one comps. If you can't find it, maybe do the houses and figure out what the land would be worth separate from the house. But usually if I just need to figure it out, I would see what the tax assessed value of that piece of land is. XLeads will give you that information, or the property appraiser, and I would just try to lock it up for at least 60 to 50% of that. Then I would e-sign it with XLeads and get the deal locked up, send the information to title, go back to the buyer, and close the deal. Now, obviously you want to figure out if that buyer is actually what they're looking for. They're looking to build properties. Then you call them up, say, hey, I just locked up a deal. It's vacant in the Johnson City area, and seeing if you're looking to buy it. They say yes or no. They do a walkthrough, do the assignment, and it's the same process as wholesaling a house. So wholesaling vacant land is very, very similar. Obviously the lists are pretty simple. It's just a vacant land list and boom, you're good to go, right? Guys, are you wholesaling vacant land? Have you done a deal? I love these type of properties because I make a ton of money with them. But most importantly, if you got any value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.